Magandang araw! Welcome to the podcast that celebrates the vibrant Filipino community in Canada. Join us as we dive into the lives and the experiences of our fellow kababayans and embrace the beauty of our shared culture. Mabuhay! And let's get started. We have with us today a remarkable woman. She is not just an incredible baker who makes, they call it hyper-realistic cakes. She's more than just a baker. We have April Julian. Hi, April.
Hi.
Hello. Kamusta ka? How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to get to ask you the questions. I wasn't interested in watching Is It Cake before I met you. I met April in one of the events of Pinay Tayo. And I got super curious. First of all, I was very charmed by your personality.
Oh.
You just have this really radiant smile and you have such a vibrant presence.
Thank you.
And I'm not surprised why they got you in the show. Let's start with the experience in Is It Cake. What were your takeaways from that?
My takeaways, that's a good question. I think the overall takeaway was, I'm a pretty sort of introverted person, although I think I present as outgoing. And so, I have many different interests and I guess talents. I play the piano as well. I've never, ever really wanted to showcase them. I'm really shy about showing things that I can do or make. So I was kind of hesitant to go on the show. And after doing it and having a blast and doing really well, I think it kind of pushed me to come out of my shell a little bit, to be more encouraged to sort of share my gifts and share, what I can do and put myself out there. So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways. And also how much I loved it, which is so fun, like being part of the production.
You didn't expect to have that much fun when you first said yes. What made you say yes? When they asked you?
It was a lot of encouragement from my husband and from my friends. I initially was hesitant, because I was like, really? I didn't even really think it was a real thing. I thought it was a scam when I was first asked to do it.
Yeah, because they didn't have an episode before that to show you. This was the first.
Yeah, and this was, high pandemic time. Like no one is traveling. No one, and so I suddenly get a message like, hey, do you want to come to LA and be on a TV show that no one's ever heard of before? That sounds so fake, right? So after I was, researching everything about the production company and all that stuff. And even so, I was worried because I still had my full-time job, very serious work that I was going to maybe in some way compromise that role and the seriousness of that role. But, my husband, my friends were just like, it's like, you have to do it. It's such a great opportunity. When will you ever have this opportunity again?
I didn't know they shot it in LA all this time. I thought it was somewhere, which studio in Canada?
No.
Yeah. So you had to go down there. What year was this shot?
2021.
So towards the latter part of the pandemic, but still very much
travel ban time.
Oh,
so no one was in the airports. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was very eerie and strange. Yeah.
Okay. And they discovered you because, they were looking, this is a US competition, but they went Canada. Were you the only Canadian in the first season?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the only Canadian. So that too, I remember speaking to the casting agents, like, are you sure? Every time they'd call me, I'm like, are you sure? So I was in such utter disbelief. And so flew down there. It was all very surreal. I couldn't believe it.
How did they find you? How did they
discover me?
Discover your
because that's the other thing. It's not like I applied to the show. That's also why I thought it was a scam.
Which is very wise of you. That's really the first thing that should come into our heads these days, right?
Absolutely. So it seemed too good to be true, which almost always is, right? That's basically it. So how did they discover me? I have an Instagram account where I very occasionally would post pictures of my cakes. I think I also had other photos of cakes I've done. I've been doing cakes since 2007. So way before, YouTube and all these like TV stars doing cakes on Instagram and TikTok. So I guess these photos have been circulating for many years, despite the fact that I had a very small following. So I think the casting director just saw one of my photos and reached out to me through Instagram and Facebook and all my social media accounts. And I tried very hard to ignore this person. And they kept just like, hey, hi, remember me? I'm asking you a question. Can you answer? And so I finally responded, and it turned out to be real.
When did your interest for baking start, and how did it start?
I've always been interested in baking, or in general, making things. So whether it's...
you said you also play the piano, so the artistic gift is there.
For sure, I have a creative side, but I think my brain is hardwired to be a maker. So from, even before there was a Food Network, my favorite thing to do was wake up on Saturday morning and watch my cartoons, but then I turned to PBS and watched the cooking shows. That was like the first version of cooking TV. And I would watch that, or I'd watch, woodworking shows. Like here's this little kid, transfixed watching Norm Abrams, build a shed. It's like a strange fixation. So,
did you ever get your hand into those things?
Yeah, for sure. Like
carpentry.
In my house, it's like, I repaired our dishwasher, our washing machine.
No way. Your washing machine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your dishwasher. Can you come over to my house?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
No way.
I think
so amazing. So something about making things, creating things, fixing things.
Figuring things out. I have a tendency to think, I think I can do that. Like, that's just how my brain works. Like, I don't want to pay someone to do that. I think I can do that. And for some reason, it seems to work out.
And when you started baking, was it already hyper-realistic cakes? This is a new term for me. I mean, not like yesterday, but in the last few years. The first person I met, I have a friend who lived in, I forget which state in the US. And then she went back to the Philippines. And it was the first time I ever saw a cake it was a turkey for Thanksgiving. And it was a cake. And then she made a cheeseburger, but it was a cake. And I was just blown away. And then I started seeing things like that more often. When did you start doing that? And how did that idea come to you?
I've been making decorated cake since 2007, and really I would make whatever anybody wanted. So one of the first things I can remember, maybe in 2009 or something, quite a while ago, someone had their beloved, Louis Vuitton purse, right? And so it's like, okay, let me try to make this look as much like the purse as possible. So in my mind, it's like, I'm not trying to make something called a hyper-realistic cake. It's like, you've asked me to, duplicate your purse or your shoe or whatever, and I'm going to try to do it to the best of my abilities, which means, in the end, it looks as close as possible to the real thing. This trend of hyper-realistic cakes, I think, as a term, I think really came to rise during the pandemic, when people kind of caught on to it on TikTok and seeing people like cutting their chairs open and taking a bite, right? So it became more commonplace to see sort of everyday items like this microphone, turned into a cake to fool people.
And it's really crazy. It's crazy, the quality on how you do it. I've seen yours in a few shows, and your guestings, right? In E, you guessed it, in entertainment channel. And then there were these two clutches. There was these two black bags. And the host couldn't believe that one was cake, even like when she was right in front of it. And that's just crazy. but yeah, it's funny, because even as you are a cake designer, you're a creator, you're an artist, you also had a very serious job. While you were baking, you were you were director for education for the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. That sounds heavy.
It's very heavy.
What is it exactly that you used to do there?
Yeah, so I worked there for about 13 years. And my sort of last role was as the director of education, as you mentioned. So this organization has been, fighting for rights and civil liberties in Canada for, decades now. They have an education program to try to teach the public to have a respect for rights and freedoms. And so I was the director of that program. I would develop and deliver education to learners of all ages, from kindergarten to senior citizens, lawyers, police officers, people who are in conflict with the law, even to newcomers to Canada, right? To give everyone an understanding that you all have rights, they should be respected. Everybody in Canada has them regardless of their status here. So yeah, very far away from making silly cakes. Way more serious.
Was that to balance it out?
I guess, I don't know. It's like the yin to my yang. I don't know. It was a role I really enjoyed. I loved teaching. I'm a teacher by training. I'm a certified teacher. So I think I had a knack for sort of taking really serious, heavy, sometimes complicated topics and distilling them into much more simple language so that people could really take it in and understand, regardless of their age, right? Regardless of their English capacity. So that was a really important job. I think I was doing important work and I really enjoyed doing it.
That's amazing when you said that, because it kind of resonated with me. I am a teacher at heart as well. My first job ever out of college was teaching, but it wasn't because of my love for teaching yet. At that time, I just needed a job right outside of, right after college, because I needed money to party.
Party, okay. That's what I was.
That was, I didn't know, but that was where my heart told me to go, to teach kids. Yeah. And now I want to bookmark my career. That was my first career. I know that the last career I'm going to have is teaching.
Amazing.
And that's how I see myself as a journalist and as a host. Like what I'm doing now, I kind of realize that I have the same gift of distilling the information, complex information, and breaking it down and relaying it to people of different ages, just exactly like what you said. That's amazing. So what did you take up in college?
Oh my gosh.
In university?
Everything I've done to this point in my life has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. So if you were to guess, it's like, oh, she must have studied culinary arts or, visual arts or something. I studied economics and labor relations.
Okay.
So like I went to University of Toronto. Again, like even those degrees did not to any real degree have any sort of import on my job as a director of education, although I did get a teaching degree, so that actually did apply. But yeah, none of this has anything to do with
So the teaching
baking.
degree came after the economics degree.
Correct. Yeah, I had a complete career. So I've had actually thinking about a couple career changes. So when I graduated from U of T, I was working in finance in different capacities. I was a buyer for some big corporations for a couple of years. And I just found it so sort of soul sucking. I was always kind of volunteering at different organizations, working with kids and things like that. So I thought, well, if that's what I'm doing in my spare time, why don't I make that my career? Which is why I went to teachers college. And so here I am many years later doing something totally different.
No, interesting. So yeah, I wanted to find out about those different career changes, like after what you did in college, and in your role as a director of education for the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Is it a federal agency, federal organization?
No, it's not. It's not governmental. It's non-governmental, nonprofit, right? Because one of the main roles is obviously to bring the government to task if they're, violating the rights of people in Canada, right?
Okay, so it's actually checking the government. And what were you were also actually teaching, or were you just making the programs for them to teach?
No, I was in classrooms for sure. Yeah, I love that was my, favorite part of the job, was being with students and engaging with them. And even during the pandemic, we were doing it over Zoom, and I was finding new ways to use technology to make that fun, right? Because it's not really...
What about the non-kids, the adults, like the police officers, for example? Was that fun too?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different kind of conversation you're having. It's a lot more serious, but it's a lot of... people are on all different pages when it comes to those type of topics, right? So it's a lot of asking questions and answering questions by asking more questions, right? So challenging everybody to sort of think critically about the positions they've taken, right? And to think critically about situations where rights and freedoms collide, and just sort of, try to have an open mind to be able to
think critically and question their opinions, whatever side you're on, right? So very sort of neutral, try to be, I'm not trying to like impose my particular point of view, but trying to get you to think critically about yours.
What are the things you found out while you were relating to these people, whether it was what the kids state of mind is when it comes to this big ideas, big issues, or the older ones? What has it revealed to you?
I think the younger you are, the more open-minded you are to this idea of fairness. I think it's, I would always sort of present case studies to my students. And often I would use the same case study, let's say for 10-year-olds, as I would for, students who are, for example, pre-service teachers. So I'd always also go to teachers' colleges to talk to those folks. So these are adults, right? And when it came to sort of trying to come to a conclusion, but how do we solve this dilemma where rights and freedoms are in conflict? The young kids would always come up with like the judgment from the Supreme Court, like immediately. It's like they'd come up with a creative solution. That is exactly was the judgment. Whereas the adults were just so stuck in like, no, but the rules are the rules and they have to be that way. And like, we can't think outside of the box. It's just like,
Oh my gosh, that is so revealing of something. I mean, I was just, this is a fact that I've been, that I've encountered a lot of times, but there's something about the world, there's something about teachers, there's something even parents unwittingly do to kids when they strip them of their innocence and their belief in magic and their belief that it's they say you're at your most genius until 7 years old, right? And you have all of the capabilities to just be the best possible person that you are, the best possible person that you can be, and until you get stripped by
society,
by the reality. Yeah, I mean it's kind of sad, but it's good to know also, because we have to keep kids believing in magic, because magic is real. I mean, I believe that. I believe that dreams come true.
Sure.
I mean, and this all starts with your headspace. Like, what do you believe in? And it's beautiful how kids are so simple with like, so you're fighting with each other, then make peace.
Yeah.
Then forgive him.
Yeah. Easy.
Then say sorry, daddy, to mommy,
Yeah.
But it's really the solution. I mean, you can go into many complex different ways of tackling it, but the solution is you just say sorry to her.
Yeah, pride is not the factor, right? Preventing you from doing the right thing, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure.
So tell me about the family in the Philippines. Like you were born in the Philippines?
Yeah.
And how's your family there? Why did you transition here? How old were you when you moved to Canada?
Yeah, so I was 3 years old when my parents decided to move us all here. I have two brothers, an older brother. So he is 4 years older than me. So he has much more of a memory of living there. He went to school there. And then my younger brother is 2 years younger. So he has zero memory or recollection at all.
So you're in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
You and another brother.
The only girl, but in the middle. So yeah, we moved right in the height of, Marcos, and my parents were scared about what was going on. And so they very quickly wanted to find a place that would be safer for us to grow up in. And so that's what they did. They packed us up pretty quick. I think initially we had been accepted to go to Australia, and my parents were like, I don't know. I don't think we're ready to leave. And I think what had happened was Marcos had declared martial law, and my parents were like, okay, now we really have to think about our future and our kids. And so kind of immediately they packed up and went to Canada. My dad had already sort of laid the groundwork, I think, to have a job there. And so we did.
What were your parents doing then? What were their jobs?
Yeah. My mom is trained in, I think, psychology or psychiatry. I think psychology. I always get those two mixed up. And so she was working at the university there at the time. My dad is in IT. So very high demand skill set.
So he was already in IT way back in the during the Marcos
right,
time.
right. So way ahead of the game and very high in demand skill set. So his first job here, I believe, was with Citibank in Toronto. And then, of course, my mom, her degree and her credentials and all her accomplishments meant nothing to Canada, right? And so she had to start from scratch. And before she retired, she managed to go back to school to study sociology, I believe. And she was doing some really great community work, working with an organization that helps people with mental health issues. So yeah, my parents are pretty cool.
I was gonna ask,
Yeah.
how is it like growing up in the kind of household that you had with two brothers and your parents? Were they strict? How was your upbringing? How was your childhood?
Yeah, no, I have a very good memories of my childhood. My dad is, a very creative person. I think for sure, I look like him. I think I take after him in his thought process. That whole I think I can do it myself is from my dad. He's also an electrical engineer by trade, so I would follow him around the house and help him fix our electrical sockets and things like that. I think that's where I got the confidence to be able to do these things. And then my mom is he's very sort of shy, but our childhood was filled with his dad jokes. His corny dad jokes, and so we all sort of developed a pretty good sense of humor. My mom is much more outgoing, very likes to, welcome people into the house and have parties with lots of food. She's a very excellent chef, I'll say, in our house. She always cooks amazing meals and food. So maybe I got that from her for sure.
Sounds nice to be invited in your house.
Yeah.
You have a mom who cooks really well and you bake really well. And you do things around the house. You're very capable of doing things around the house. But I see that your grandma, your Lola, also had an influence on you. Can you tell us about your grandma?
For sure. So actually, on the show Is It Cake, I had sort of dedicated my last cake which was a sewing machine, to my Lola, who taught me how to sew. So she lived with us for a number of years. As many Filipino families do, they live with their grandparents. She, was the only daycare and babysitter and summer camp I ever experienced, right? Yeah, that was not a
the
thing.
Best kind. Yeah.
Going to summer camp was not a thing,
Really?
that's not something I relate to. It was always just hang out with grandma, sit on the couch, watch soap operas.
Learn how to sew.
Yeah, learn how to sew, that sort of thing.
This is the mom of your mom or dad?
My dad. My mom's parents lived with us for a short period of time. And they had a much harder time, I think, transitioning to life in Canada. And then they went back. And then they both passed away. Yeah, when I was young.
Okay, but your Lola from your dad's side lives here.
She passed away quite a few years ago, but she had a very long life. She lived until she was 93. So I definitely knew her into my adulthood,
right?
And spent a lot of time with her.
That's one of the beautiful things about Filipino culture. I mean, living with a family. I have very distinct memories of relatives living with us and then moving, and then another set of relatives or one or two living with us, and then my parents helped them get started in Manila from the province. They'll go to Manila and then they'll stay with us, and then they'll study, and then maybe when they find a job or get married, then they'll move out, and then another set of relatives, and it's amazing. It's also, for a kid, it's also like having a new friend, or you have someone to look up to.
For sure.
Yeah, some people think that they could find the negative things in that, like other people living in your home that's not your immediate family or something like that. But I think it's one of the great things about Filipino culture.
I think so too. Yeah, no, definitely we did that too. People coming in from the Philippines, trying to establish themselves here, and they, would stay with us for a time. And it was always cool to get to know family that I hadn't spent a lot of time with, right? Or hadn't seen since I was a baby, right?
In fact, it's so funny because my husband's family is kind of different from my family. They're more modern in a sense that They're more Western
Okay.
in a sense. Plus, they also, I think maybe because they also didn't have a province. Because in the province, it's still very different. Like it's still very traditional and still very, the tight family bond is tighter
Okay.
in the provinces than like in the big city in Manila. So, because sometimes when we go out of the country, when we're going to Canada, for example, or we're going to the US, and my husband would immediately look for a hotel or book an Airbnb. And for my family, it's like, who's our relative that lives in that city?
Yeah. Who do we know in California?
What do you mean hotel? No, that's not even in the realm of
Right.
possibilities or choices. It's funny. He's like, what? We're gonna live with who? We're just gonna live with uncle, whatever. He washed my butt when I was like 2. So did your Lola also bake? Were you cooking or not in the kitchen? It was
No,
sewing?
she did not bake. Yeah, I don't know. Is baking? I don't know. Like back then, was baking cakes a big thing in the Philippines? The only thing I could ever recall is maybe bibingka or something.
Yeah,
But even then,
not
it was
cake
more like
cakes, it's
suman and like rice things that you're cooking on the stovetop, right?
True.
But she was an amazing, like anything she cooked was delicious. And to this
Really?
day, I very, very much regret not,
Learning her
recipes. There's one in particular that like could never replicate because it was so full of flavor and different kinds of spices, ones that I don't even recognize in other Filipino dishes I've had. It was very like star anise and cinnamon, like very unusual spice blend. And no one in my family knows how to make this dish. And it's such a shame
Not
because
your dad's siblings.
I think they've tried. I'll have to like pick their brain, but that's
right. You
when
know,
you
this
lose
is
that,
this
it makes
is
me crazy.
this is a very useful nugget of reminder for every Filipino. If your lolas are still alive or someone who cooks really well, because I have 2 friends who did it in the pandemic. Like wrote down their lola's recipes.
Right.
Yeah, and
otherwise it's lost.
Hmm?
Otherwise it's lost.
Yes. And you don't really, I mean, she's been meaning to do that. One of my friends has been meaning to do that, but it's so busy. And during the pandemic, she just had time to do that.
Yeah.
Like, and one of the things I wanted to do then was to write down the history of my family, like while I can still interview lolas and write down, just chronicle what they went through, during the wartime, during the Japanese time. There's just loads of information you can get from older people.
Yeah.
Right? Funny, I was watching a YouTube video yesterday that I forwarded to my husband. There's this YouTube account, this YouTube guy that interviewed senior citizens, like 80. He'll just stop whoever he feels is an older person in the street, ask them how old they are and what their lessons in life are, what are their biggest regrets and all that. And some of not a few of them said that they feel invisible. They feel like the society don't really look at older people in a way that they feel valued. So they're like, they feel the same way as they did when they were in their 20s, 30s, but then they look at the mirror and they're like, oh, there's an old person staring back at them. And it was just a good thing to hear because, sometimes we just pass them by and we don't really give them a lot of importance. But there's a wealth of wisdom and joy and information we can get from them, right? It's crazy. I didn't even get to know my grandparents that well. From my mom's side, they passed away before I was born, I think. And from my dad's side, she did live with us, but she was kind of, she was very strict. We were kind of scared of her because she was always like imposing the rules.
Sure,
It's time to sleep. It's time to eat. Or it's like, clean up. So we never really had that connection. But anyway, we just we went off on a tangent there. But so what about your family life? You're married with a kid?
Yeah. So I've been married. We got married in 2015. Actually, I met my husband through work.
Which work?
At the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. He was doing his articling there at the time, and I joined the organization. And We were friends which is like the ideal situation. You're friends, and then it turns into something else. So he finished his articles and then moved on to practice law, and then we just kind of became good friends and became close, and then started dating, and then we got married in 2015, and now we have a beautiful daughter who's 4 years old now.
Okay. So that sounds like a good place to meet your husband. I mean,
I didn't have to do the internet dating thing, which is like, I tried it for a
it's
time. It's
happening
awful.
a lot. It was awful. Your
I
experience
think
was
generally,
awful?
if you poll the universe how much they love internet dating, I think most people will say it's pretty bad.
I never got to try it. I was already maybe I just wasn't aware of it then, but maybe I was already married when the
When
thing
it started,
happened. But I'm interested now. Let me know about your your internet dating experience.
Oh, it was very short-lived, and it was pretty abysmal. So I was glad when I actually
But
met
did you
my
actually went out with someone from?
husband. I think I went on a couple dates, and they were kind of lame.
So is it the same as what's written there? What you see in the profile? Was it different?
I don't know. Everybody tries to make themselves sound as good as possible, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, it was so long ago. I don't actually remember all that much about it, other than there were a lot of duds. For sure. So I lucked out. I got a good one.
And it didn't have to be from the internet.
No. Yeah. I know people who did. They found love through the internet.
Yeah.
They found their partner. They found someone great. But you're in a sea of duds. There's quite a few of them out there.
How long were you going out before you got married?
I think by that point, 5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So what is it about him that you got attracted to first? He's gonna hear this, of course.
Let's see. He's really funny. We have a very similar sense of humor, and I think we have we like the same types of entertainment. We like the same types of music, the same types of comedy. So
Which is what? Can you tell me?
We are
what
big,
sort of-
fans of 90s hip hop and R&B, the golden age of hip hop. And so we bonded through that. He also is really, really intelligent, right? Kind, generous person. He's good looking too, so that doesn't hurt.
That
Tall,
doesn't
handsome
hurt.
dude.
Yeah.
So what's not to like? And he has a lovely family. His family is so wonderful, and they really just, from the moment I met them, welcomed me, and that's another important thing to me. Family's really important to me.
That's another icing on the cake.
Yeah, no complaints.
And how old is your kid now? You
She's
only have
4.
one, right? She's 4. Does she like working in the kitchen as well? Does she watch you bake? Or?
Yeah, for sure. She loves, I kind of want to emulate what my parents did for me and involve her no matter what age and anything I'm doing. Obviously, in a safe way. I'm not going to have her rewire our electrical sockets or anything.
Not yet. Maybe when you're 6.
No, but she'll watch me. Sometimes I'm using, tools to build a structure for my cake. For sure, while I'm making my cake, I'll have her, sit beside me if she wants to and play with some fondant and kind of try to make her own little figurines. If I'm baking, I'll ask her to help me pour in the ingredients. If it's cooking dinner, I'll get her to chop the vegetables, which she thinks is the coolest thing ever because that's such a big girl thing to do.
Yeah.
I have just this pastry cutter that obviously is very dull, but it manages to cut hard vegetables really easily. And so she gets a sense of pride of oh, look what I'm doing. It's such a big girl thing to do. I'm helping with dinner, right? And so we very much, when we're eating, compliment her on the meal she's made for us. I just want her to feel competent and be able to feel like she can do things herself and not have to rely on anyone else to do anything, really.
Yeah, which is pretty much, I think, how you were brought up, too.
For sure. Yeah.
Plus, you have 2 brothers. I mean, how was that like? What? Are they protective? Were they protective of you?
No, they could care less what I was doing at all times. Really, I think I gravitated very much to the things they were doing because I thought it was cool. So I didn't really play with Barbies or anything like that. I would, ride I'd ride a dirt bike around the block, and we'd play video games and wrestling and things like that. So yeah, as kids, age gap means a lot more. Like 4 years when you are 8 is a huge gap, right? Like, so it's not like we always had a lot in common. We often would, fight as kids do, tease each other as kids do. But now as we're grown-ups, we can all understand each other. We all sort of face similar problems, and so we're a lot, better, obviously, as siblings. We're not quarreling and always trying to kill each other.
Yeah, they're here in Canada. They're both married. They have their own families. Do you get together a lot as a family? How is it?
As much as possible. I'm the only one that's in Toronto, so everyone else is sort of in the Durham region. So it's a little bit of a trek. I don't get to see them as often as I would like to. But every sort of occasion, whether it's Easter, Christmas, birthdays, Mother's Day coming up, right? We definitely try to get together as a family. And my daughter is obsessed with her Lola and Lolo. So and they love having her around. So I will bring her there for sleepovers, and she just has the best time with them. And they could not love it. My dad, every time I come, is like, so when can we sign the adoption papers? Like, they want to take her for good. Yeah.
Oh, that's so adorable. So, so you left your job at the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, and now have you decided to really just focus on this one?
Yeah. It was a tough decision for sure. I'd been there for so long, and again, I think the work is important. And I had a lot of friends there. You work with someone for 13 years, of course, you're going to form a bond. But I also was getting opportunities since Is It Cake came out that I was like, well, I don't know how long these are going to be presented to me. If I decline them now, will I ever have the chance to try this out? And there were enough of those opportunities that I wouldn't be able to do both. I had tried for very long. I was doing both, like staying up late at night, baking and things like that. But it just was impossible, especially with a child, right? To basically have 3 jobs or 3 full-time jobs. And so I made the decision to just give it my focus and see how far I can take it. Knowing that, at the end of the day, I'm still, regardless of what happens within the cake world, I'm still a employable person. I still have multiple degrees and experience I can draw on. I think I'll be okay.
It's something you really enjoy, and it's something that's showcasing your creativity. Do you think you've improved a lot since when you started doing this? Because I've been seeing your work in Instagram. I've been seeing the recent ones, but I'm like, damn, she's good. But have you been? You've been getting better. I'm assuming. I suppose.
I think so. Yeah. Every time I get asked to make something new that I've never made before, right? I'm developing new techniques and it's really just like anything, problem solving. It's like, how on earth am I going to make this thing that feels like Play-Doh look like a teddy bear's fur, right? So it's just kind of, once I've tackled that, it's in my toolbox of skills. Now I know how to make this texture in a very convincing way. Color matching, the more I get asked to make, and, when you're doing product work, the color of the product, is very iconic, and you have to really get it exactly right. Otherwise, that's a big problem.
Yeah. So there's that skill too.
Yeah. So color theory, things
color
like
mixing that. The dyes, color mixing, the food color.
Yeah. And there's a limited number of colors there, and trying to balance them so that you have the exact right shade of red can be challenging. But
what are the other challenging aspects of it? Apart from the coloring, of course, the texture.
It's all challenging. It takes so long. It takes so long to do these things.
What's the average, for example, for a standard size cake? Is there an average time, or are they really?
They really range. I'm trying to think. So I made the hamburger. I did a collaboration with McDonald's. So I did 3 of their sandwiches. I would say each one of those took at least, I don't know, like 12 hours or so, maybe from start to finish, like baking included.
Half a day.
Yeah. And then you have to film it, right? That's another process that I'm learning to get
True.
better at, right? I'm not a cinematographer, right?
Your
so
videos look good.
oh, thanks.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and trying to make
But
it
true, that's another
engaging.
one. It's not
Mhm.
it's not a 5-minute thing. Like what you see there, you thought it was done in like 5 minutes.
Oh, for
'Cause you
sure.
gotta record the process
Yeah.
and the
And recording it makes the whole process at least twice as long. So if I had to make a cake without recording it at all, you know, it's already a lengthy process. If I have to film it from
That's
multiple angles and then edit it, you're like
You get any
tripling
help?
the time. No,
it's
all
it's
me.
a one superwoman job. Uh-huh.
I mean, like my husband in the sense that my husband is there to pick up the slack when I'm really, really busy and like helping put my daughter to bed or pick her up from school, right? Or like helping me clean up the hurricane of a mess afterwards. For sure, I have help in that way. But making the cakes, I cannot trust him.
Have you ever had to repeat making one? Is it part of the process? Like, oh, I don't like how this looks like. I'm gonna, or maybe in the middle, maybe in different phases, no, not like the entire thing. But I was wondering, like, if it's a collaboration, for example, it's a business partnership with a corporation, which seems like the things that you're having now, and it doesn't come out the way you want it, so you're gonna repeat it from scratch. Does that ever happen? Is that part of the process?
For sure. You know, what I try to do is be obviously smart with my time. So I might not start from scratch. I might just remove the part that I'm not happy with and like kind of cover it up with a new, let's say, piece of fondant or whatever. Cake in some ways can be forgiving in that way. Like, for example, you're making a wedding cake and you make a mistake on the side, just like put a flower where the mistake is. It still looks beautiful, but you've covered it up and no one will know the difference. So yeah, for sure there are times where it's not quite right. Maybe the color is just a little bit off, or it looks different once you have the cameras on it, right? It looked like the right color when you were doing it, but once you shine those lights on there, it's like, whoa, what? That's not right at all. So I might have to adjust a little bit. But yeah, I try to find ways to do that in a way that's time effective. So I'm not starting from scratch. Like, no one has time for that.
I was imagining what's the most. Of course, they're all challenging. They do look all challenging. But what were the few ones that you remember that have really given you quite a
Oh my
headache?
God, run
Or
for my
like
money.
the one that that was the most challenging to do?
Oh my goodness. Wow, what? Oh, so I did a collaboration with Xbox. So I had to make their Xbox console as well as the controller. And if you know what those look like, the Xbox console is this very perfectly pristine white box with a million ventilation holes. And on the top is like a black disc also with a million ventilation holes. So you'd think making something that is a rectangle is kind of easy. It's like it's a rectangle.
box.
Cakes are rectangles. How hard can it be? But making something squishy and soft and like gooey, you know, oozy like cake frosting is, into perfectly sharp right angles, pristine white without a crumb on it, is so hard.
Okay.
Not to mention like making a million little tiny, exactly the same sized perforation ventilation holes in the exact right pattern was a huge, huge level of difficulty. So there's that. And then the controller is also, it's kind of, if you're not familiar with how it's shaped, it's kind of like something you cradle in your hand. So it's not flat on the bottom. It's kind of like floating in the middle. And so you have to think about what kind of structure will support that. So it's really like, I'm thinking like engineering and art and all these things that have to come together and problem solving. And it turned out really well. They were really, really happy with the final result. But that was a lot of hours, like weeks and weeks of planning.
Yeah, because something about you is that you're reliable enough your standards are very high. I see that in the show. The way you focus is crazy. When you're like, I see you in the show, you're smiling, you're talking to them, you're like, but when you're working, you have a different look. You're like,
Yes.
This is like,
Yes.
it looks like you're really problem solving. You're solving world problems when you're looking at that cake. And so I believe you when you say that it turned out well.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at that, look for that in your Instagram account. So what about the most satisfying one? Like the maybe reactions wise from
my
the
God.
clients that you have gotten?
The one that the one I'd say that has gotten the greatest reaction. Oh God, I have two. I have one that got the greatest reaction on TikTok.
No, tell me about the two.
Yeah.
Doesn't it just have to be one?
The TikTok one, that was my first viral video, which currently stands now at about 3 million views. And this wasn't a brand collaboration. It was just me thinking of a way to make a cake that would garner a response, and it sure did. Basically, what I made was, it was Super Bowl, and so everybody was making chicken wings and things like that. So I made a cake that looked like barbecued chicken wings, but in the background you see like a tray of the raw chicken wings, and so the focus is on the cooked ones, thinking like, oh, look at that, she made chicken wing cakes, how cool. But then I pick up the raw one and I take a bite. And you can imagine people's reactions like, oh, what is she doing? Don't eat raw chicken. That's disgusting. Because it was so realistic as a piece of raw chicken. And to watch someone bite into it, your brain is like, stop that. What are you doing? So that was the reaction that I was hoping for. And that is the reaction I got. So yeah, that video continues to get comments. And as I said, right now it's sitting at 3 million views, which is pretty darn viral in my books, at least in my own little world. And the other video that's currently going viral went viral because I made a mistake, which I, as a Virgo and as a perfectionist, like kills me. It's like lie awake at night thinking of the mistakes I've made, in third grade. So imagine like how much this affects me now. So basically, I made a cake that looks pretty much exactly like a Nike sneaker. And so my husband is a sneakerhead. He loves sneakers. So to me, like making a sneaker is as realistic as possible, has its own, like, I have my own like personal reasons why I want to make it realistic, besides my own like, quest for perfectionism. So anyway, I make this cake. It's perfect in the way it looks, but I record this video where I'm like, hey, everybody, check out this Air Force One sneaker. But it wasn't an Air Force One sneaker. It was a sneaker called a Court Vision Low. And every sneakerhead in the world came to tell me that.
Oh
and
my
just
gosh.
comment after comment.
It's crazy how they pick.
Oh my God. I'm like,
they nitpick
guys,
these things.
it's still a cake.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I named it wrong, but it's still a cake. So there was the reaction of like, wow, that's insane. It really looks like the shoe. And then the other hand was like, that's not an AF1. So the AF1 police came for me in a big way. But it's fine. At the end of the day, all the comments, drive up engagement, drive up my numbers, drive up followers and interest. So like to me, I'm thinking, I contacted one of my castmates, Justin, who like I adore. And I was like, Justin, everybody's roasting me on this. He's like, you need to make this mistake more often because you're going viral. Like you need to misname every single cake you make from now on. So
are you getting better with comments on your social media? We know how crazy it can be. We know how nasty it can get. But not me. I can't imagine them doing nasty stuff with cake designs, except maybe for this Nike feedback. But you still have to have a certain stomach for it.
Thick skin.
Right?
Yeah, I'm learning.
When you have 3 million people watching something you've done, even if it's 1% reaction, that's still a lot.
Yeah.
And it's going to be diverse.
Yeah, I'm learning this. I'm learning that lesson that I need to be more thick-skinned. I am a pretty sensitive person. And it's my drive to be, perfect and try to do things well and to achieve, be a high achiever. Right? I think this is like the Filipino way. So anytime.
And being an artist too.
Yeah, anything. Like this is how I've always been. So yeah, but like at the end of the day, again, all the comments, good or bad, add to more people following and engaging and learning who you are. So Justin was like, you are fine. Like, if that's the worst thing you've ever gotten on the internet, you're doing great.
Exactly. And it's not even the cake,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not a mistake on the cake, which
It's
is
just
the main
name
thing.
of the stupid shoe. Anyway, so I'm going to have to redeem myself on that.
How do you plan to do? Are you planning something?
I think I'm going to make
Have
another
you forgiven
shoe cake.
yourself on that?
You know, I've forgiven myself for sure. For sure. I think I just, what I'm going to do is try to make, I love making shoe cakes. Like I've made quite a few. I think I've made a couple sneaker cakes already. I think it's fun. Again,
Yeah,
it's
that
also,
Nike one is crazy. It's
Thanks.
super beautiful.
Thank you.
I didn't even know. I'm not a sneakerhead, so I didn't know it wasn't an Air Force One. So I totally believe what you said.
It's a
it
white
doesn't matter.
sneaker.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the sneakerheads are gonna. I'm not the sneakerhead in my
Exactly.
house. It's my husband. So and I don't
Yeah.
ask his permission to post anything. So he didn't catch the mistake, and whatever it is, what it is.
Yeah, of course. But like, what? So now, what are you? What are? Do you have any vision, any plans for your future on social media, for example, or just your work with the cakes? Like, how do you see it? How do you envision it rolling?
I like I said, I was surprised at how much I loved being part of the production of Is It Cake. I love doing stuff like this. I love having conversations with people. So to the extent that I can parlay more interest in myself as a personality, whether it's on TV or in podcasts or on my own Instagram, or do more collaborations with other artists or brands. Yeah, I'd love to do more of that and continue to do that. I think cakes are one thing, right? But then also having a personality and being able to engage people beyond just like, wow, that's a cool cake. It's like, oh, that's the person that makes those cakes, and I
Right.
identify, that cake with April, as opposed to like, oh, cool cake, see ya, goodbye, and like, no connection with me whatsoever. So I'm trying to get better at that, get better at developing content that's engaging, that features, because before I wouldn't even appear in my videos, but now I'm trying to do that more, to be like, I am the person behind these cakes. It's not just a cake that appeared out of nowhere. So I'm getting better at that, I think.
Yeah, you definitely are, and it's a blessing for a lot of people that you're out of your shell, because you're a joy to watch, and it's a joy to watch your cakes.
Thank
So
you
we're
so
gonna
much.
keep on tuning into your new creations.
Thank you. So one thing that has always been important to me and continues to be important to me going forward is part of what you're asking is like, what is it that you hope to do? I want to diversify the space of people doing food TV and food entertainment, right? If you think of all the people who became celebrities because of their cake creations, you don't see any Filipino people up there, any Filipino women for sure. So I definitely am doing my best to try to diversify that space and make a name and a voice for myself, and to represent, right? I'm always going to talk about being Filipino. I'm always going to talk about my heritage, right? It's not going to be something I hide away from. And I tried to do that on Is It Cake as well, right? Netflix being a huge platform to be able to make that statement. And I wanted to make sure to do that. And I hope I continue to be able to do that.
And we're happy that you're there. We're happy that you're the one representing us, someone who's very capable and someone who can show them that Filipinos rock.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so you also said something about wanting to replicate Jollibee products.
Oh, yeah.
Did it
Jollibee, shout out. Yeah.
collaboration open here?
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've done the McDonald's collab. So Jollibee,
Yeah, hello.
hit me up.
How is McDonald's getting first dibs on April?
Yeah, let's do it.
Last message for just the viewers of Filipino TV, the ones who the Filipino community in Canada.
I think I am the type of person that never dreamed big. I always kind of, as I said, shied away from sharing my talents, never thinking that it might be possible. I've always dreamed of being on sort of food TV. I, watched these shows since I was a child. So never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I would ever have the opportunity to do that. So, you know, dream big. Don't think that there's no space for you. Work on your craft. Work hard. And you never know, right? Like this was just a shot in the dark, lightning bolt hit me. And there's no reason why that couldn't happen to anybody else.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.